Hello everyone, welcome to my channel. Friends, before going into the details of the war, don't forget to like the video, subscribe to my channel and turn on the notification bell. Please support by subscribing and turning on the notification bell. We are a strong community. Ukraine latest. Kremlin says annexed regions protected by nuclear weapons. The Russian invasion of Ukraine that began on February 24 continues, with casualties rising on both sides. Russian President Vladimir Putin has announced Russia's annexation of 4 partially occupied Ukrainian regions following referendums that Western nations called a sham. Meanwhile, Ukrainian forces are mounting a strong counteroffensive against Russian troops, reclaiming territory lost when Moscow launched its invasion. Ukraine has managed to withstand the Russian onslaught with the help of Western military aid, but President Volodymyr Zelensky regularly calls on the world to do more. For all our coverage, visit our Ukraine war page. Note: Nikkei Asia decided on March 5 to suspend its reporting from Russia until further information becomes available regarding the scope of the revised criminal code. Entries include material from wire services and other sources. Here are the latest developments. Tuesday, October 18, Tokyo time, 6:45 p.m. The Kremlin says that the 4 regions of Ukraine that Moscow declared it had annexed in recent weeks fall under the protection of Russia's nuclear arsenal. Asked by reporters if the regions were under Moscow's nuclear umbrella, Kremlin spokesman Dmitry Peskov said, "All these territories are inalienable parts of the Russian Federation and they are all protected. Their security is provided for at the same level as the rest of Russia's territory." Russian President Vladimir Putin said last month that Moscow was ready to use nuclear weapons if necessary to defend the territorial integrity of Russia. U.S. President Joe Biden said on October 6 that the threat had brought the world closer to Armageddon than at any time since the 1962 Cuban Missile Crisis, when many feared a nuclear war might be imminent. 4:40 p.m. Russian forces carried out new airstrikes on Ukrainian energy facilities on Tuesday, causing several explosions in an area of northern Kyiv where there is a thermal power station. Kyrylo Tymoshenko, deputy head of the presidential office, said there had been 3 Russian strikes on an unspecified energy facility. City Mayor Vitaly Klitschko said the attack was on critical infrastructure in northern Kyiv, where Reuters witnesses saw thick smoke rising into the sky. 2:35 p.m. A Russian missile struck an apartment building in the southern Ukrainian port city of Mykolaiv, one of 3 explosions heard there in the early hours of Tuesday, a Reuters witness says. The missile completely destroyed one wing of the building in the downtown area, leaving a massive crater. The fire crew pulled the body of a man from the rubble, the witness said. The building's residents were sheltering in the basement when the missile struck. One resident said the dead man was in the basement of the wing that collapsed. 9:30 a.m. The Japanese government is still checking details of Russia's decree over the Sakhalin-1 oil and gas project and will continue to discuss with stakeholders of SODECO to decide whether to take a stake in a new Russian operator, the industry minister, Yasutashi Nishimura, says. Sakhalin Oil and Gas Development Co. SODECO, a consortium of Japanese companies, holds a 30% stake in the project. 5:10 a.m. The U.S. will hold Russia accountable for war crimes, the White House says, hours after Russia attacked Ukrainian cities with drones during morning rush hour, killing at least 4 people in an apartment building in Kyiv. U.S. President Joe Biden's press secretary, Karine Jean-Pierre, told reporters that the White House strongly condemns Russia's missile strikes today, and said the attack continues to demonstrate Russian President Vladimir Putin's brutality. She added, "We will continue to impose costs on Russia, hold them accountable for its war crimes." 2:56 a.m. Russia and Ukraine have exchanged 218 detainees, including 108 Ukrainian women, in one of the biggest prisoner swaps of the war, according to a Ukrainian official quoted by Reuters. 2:35 a.m. A Russian fighter plane crashes into a residential building in the southern Russian city of Yeysk on Monday, engulfing apartments in a huge fireball. Officials are quoted as saying at least 2 people are dead and 15 injured. The pilots of the plane, said to be a Sukhoi Su-34 supersonic medium-range fighter bomber, reportedly ejected. State-owned RIA reports that the crash occurred during a training flight from a military airfield. It quoted the Defense Ministry as saying the pilots had reported that an engine caught fire on takeoff, and the plane's fuel had ignited when it struck the building. 1:40 a.m. Pakistan intends to buy wheat from Russia, the country's ambassador to Moscow tells TASS in an interview. Russia has emerged as a new supplier for us. Earlier it used to be different, other countries, Shafkat Ali Khan says. We look to Russia as a long-term, stable partner when it comes to food supplies for us. Moscow's war with Ukraine has blocked much of Kyiv's wheat exports, and also created logistical issues for Russian exports of wheat, Bloomberg has reported. Russian strikes pound Ukraine power sites. Kyiv, Ukraine. AFP, President Volodymyr Zelensky said Tuesday that Russian strikes had destroyed about 30% of his country's power stations in 1 week, speaking hours after a fresh barrage cut electricity to cities across Ukraine. Russian attacks rocked energy facilities in Kyiv and urban centers across the country, causing blackouts and disrupting water supplies, just 1 day after the capital was bombarded with a swarm of suicide drones. The strikes in the early hours of Tuesday hit Kyiv, Kharkiv in the east, Mykolaiv in the south and central regions of Dnipro and Zhytomyr, where officials said hospitals were running on backup generators. Drones bombarded Kyiv on Monday, destroying a residential building in the center and killing 5 people in what the presidency described as an attack of desperation. It was the second Monday in a row that Russia launched punitive strikes, which military observers have said appear to be Moscow's response to battlefield losses. Zelensky described the repeated targeted of energy infrastructure as another kind of Russian terrorist attacks. Since October 10, 30% of Ukraine's power stations have been destroyed, causing massive blackouts across the country, the Ukrainian leader said on Twitter. Hospitals on backup power. He said the attack meant that there was no space left for negotiations with President Vladimir Putin's regime. Many settlements in the Zhytomyr region west of Kyiv and parts of the city of Dnipro in central Ukraine were without electricity, while power was restored to the southern city of Mykolaiv after strikes overnight. Now the city is cut off from electricity and water supplies. Hospitals are working on backup power, the mayor of Zhytomyr Sergei Sukhomlin said in a statement online. In the northeast, meanwhile, Ukraine's second-largest city of Kharkiv, some 40 kilometers, 25 miles, from the border with Russia, was hit with 8 missiles, the regional governor said. Kharkiv's mayor Igor Terikov said an industrial enterprise had been hit. In Kyiv, meanwhile, the DETK energy provider said its staff were doing their best to restore electricity supply after the destruction of a critical infrastructure facility in Kyiv city. Zelensky earlier said the fresh wave of nationwide strikes, which he said had damaged a residential bootling and flower market in Mykolaiv, was a Russian attempt to terrorize and kill civilians. The terrorist state will not change anything for itself with these kind of actions. It will only confirm its destructive and murderous essence, for which it will certainly be held to account, Zelensky said on social media. There was no immediate reaction from Moscow, but it has said following similar attacks that assigned military targets were hit. Kremlin denies Iran drone use following the wave of kamikaze drone attacks on Kyiv Monday. Foreign Minister Dmytro Kuleba demanded EU sanctions on Iran, accusing Tehran of providing Russia with drones. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like the video and subscribe to my channel. See you in the next video.